Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent. I hope you're ready because we will start right now. Le subjonctif. Okay, so it's quite important, and then as usual when we introduce a mode or a tense, then we'll divide the video in two parts. The first part will be l'emploi, so when do we use le subjonctif, and then the second part will concern la formation, so how do we construct this subjonctif. But let's first see l'emploi, so when do we use le subjonctif. And so we'll use le subjonctif when we want to express une obligation, une volonté, une possibilité, un doute, un sentiment, une appréciation, un jugement. Okay, so that's the idea. So if you want to express une obligation, something you have to do, une volonté, something you want to do, une possibilité, possibility, un doute, a doubt, un sentiment, a feeling, une appréciation, appreciation, and then un jugement, judgment. So in these cases, we'll use after this verb the subjonctif. Okay, so let's see first une obligation. So for example, we'll have this verb falloir and then the construction falloir que. So you will see that when we talk about the subjonctif, each time we will have, after the verb, we will have que, and then the following verb will be at the subjunctive form. Okay, so that's the concept, all right? So, for instance, if we have a look at these sentences, sorry. So, falloir, it's to need, to have to, okay? Il faut que tu écoutes, all right? Il faut que tu écoutes. All right, and then in that case here, so we'll see a bit later, of course, how to make it, but still, you've got this verb, écouter, and this form is the subjonctif. Okay? Il faut que tu écoutes. Il faut que les étudiants travaillent. All right? Il faut que les étudiants, and then here you've got the verb, travailler, to work, and this form is the subjonctif. Okay, so far it doesn't look that difficult because if you look carefully, it looks like something that we encountered a long time ago when we started to learn French, maybe Unit 1 or Unit 2, okay? But then we'll see that a bit later. So, une volonté, something you want to do, and then, well, the verb that normally we tend to use is the verb vouloir, vouloir, to want, okay? Vouloir que will be followed by le subjonctif. For instance, je veux que mon frère vienne me voir. Alright? Je veux que mon frère, my brother. Here you've got the form, la subjunctive form of venir, venir to come, me voir, see me. Okay? And then, le directeur veut que les employés arrivent à l'heure. So le directeur, the director, veut que les employés, the employees, arrivent, to arrive, à l'heure, on time, okay? And in that case, arriver, to arrive, here, it's the subjunctive form, okay? So, une possibilité, possibility, so let's see what we've got. The structure could be être possible que, okay, to be possible. Hein? Donc, être possible, and then que, as usual, remember. So, for instance, il est possible que mes amis viennent ce soir. Okay? Il est possible que, so it could be translated like, it is possible that, okay? Mes amis, my friends, and then venir here, to come. So, this form here is the subjunctive form, ce soir, tonight. So, in that case, you should put your verb here at the subjunctif. Un doute, a doubt. So let's see what we've got. And the structure, so être sûr, to be sure, okay? But then, of course, you should put the negative form of this to be sure. So, ne pas être sûr que. Okay, because you want to express a doubt. So, je ne suis pas sûr qu'il parle anglais. Okay, so I'm not sure that. And then, il, he, parler, to talk, to speak, anglais, English, okay? And here you get your verb parle, and this form is the subjunctive, okay? Let's see the next one. Un sentiment, a feeling, okay? So for this sentiment, let's see what we've got. So we could have avoir peur que, okay, to be afraid that. Avoir envie que, well, it could be translated as to want, okay, to fancy. Être désolé que, to be sorry, that. Être content, to be happy, satisfied, que. Okay, all right, for these structures, then you should make a subjunctive after, so they should be followed by une forme subjonctive. Okay, and then let's see une appréciation. Une appréciation, for instance, we could have this préférer, to prefer, préférer que, okay, aimer mieux, mieux is better, aimer, to like or to love, better, that, okay, aimer mieux que, and then these structures should be followed by une forme subjonctive, okay, and then un jugement, judgment, so it could be c'est important que, it's important that, il est dommage que, il est regrettable que, and they should be followed by a subjunctive form. All right? Be careful. The following verbs: croire, to believe; penser, to think; trouver, to find, especially when you express your opinion, okay, to find, I find that; être sûr, okay, so these verbs are normally followed by the indicative form, so all the tenses we saw so far, okay, but then when you put these verbs at the negative form, then they should be followed by the subjunctive. Okay, so keep that in mind. So croire, penser, trouver, être sûr. If you want to use these verbs and put them at the negative form, they should be followed by the subjunctive. Okay, let's see now how we'll make this subjunctive form. And so the tricky thing normally when we talk about the subjunctive is that you will have two different parts, okay? So the important thing is that you must know by heart, of course, the present form, so of the verb that we saw a long time ago, okay? So because the idea is that you will have to use this il at the plural form here, okay? And this form of the present will help you to build the forms of the subjunctive for je, for tu, for il, for elle, for il, and for elle. Okay, so the form of your verb at the present, at the third person of the plural, will help you to construct the subjunctive form for all these persons here. And that's the difficulty because, of course, for nous and vous, well, you will have to use the nous form of the present to construct nous and vous. And that's the tricky thing of the subjunctive. So that's the reason why in many cases students tend to say that, oh my god, it's too difficult. It's just because we've got two different ways of making, well, the form for je, tu, il, and elle, and then nous and vous. But then don't be afraid because in most of the cases you will see that it's quite easy, alright? So, you know what? I will take a tricky verb. Just to start, we'll take a tricky verb, and after that you will think that the rest is really easy. So let's take prendre, for instance. And so as I told you, the idea is to take the present form of the verb, okay? And the first one, so that we should take is the plural, so third person of the plural, and it goes like ils prennent, okay? Prendre is to take. Ils prennent, so that's the present form, okay? For il. And then we get nous prenons, okay? Because remember, we're using this nous prenons form. We'll use it for nous and for vous of the subjunctive, okay? So we can spot first the ending, because we know that ENT is the ending for il, and then ONS is the ending for nous, and of course what we'll do is we'll take them away. So we'll put the endings away and we'll keep only this first part here and the first part here. And so what we'll do is we'll take this first part, okay, so the part that we took away from this il form, all right, and then we'll put je. Je, so we take it back, have a look, it goes here, and we put the ending. The ending for will be for je, sorry. The ending for je will be okay? The ending for tu will be es. The ending for il, elle will be and the ending for il, elle at the plural form will be ent, okay? If you look carefully, it's not that strange. I mean, these endings are quite common, and we've been encountering these endings, you know, previously. If you think about the present form, then it looks a bit familiar, okay? So, je prenne, tu prennes, ils prennent, elles prennent, ils prennent, et elles prennent. Then phonetically, as usual, remember, we've got only one form here. It is exactly the same form, so we pronounce it the same way, but of course, as usual, we write it differently, okay? So keep in mind that ending for je is ending for tu is es, ending for il, elle is and ending for il, elle at the plural form is ent, okay? So it's the first part, okay? Because if you remember, we had as well this part from nous, okay? And as I told you, the difficulty of the subjunctive is just because we will have a difference of construction for nous and vous. And so, in that case, we'll take this first part here, we put it here, and we put the ending I-O-N-S, ion. And the ending for vous is ie. So we get nous prenions, vous preniez. Alright, so if we think carefully, ending I-O-N-S for nous, I-E-Z for vous. Okay, if you remember, it looks quite familiar because it's the ending as well for the imparfait form that we saw a while ago. Okay, so let's have a look now, the full thing. So, que je prenne, que tu prennes, qu'ils prennent, qu'elles prennent, que nous prenions, que vous preniez, qu'ils prennent, qu'elles prennent. And this is the reason why students are a bit worried usually at the beginning, just because, as we saw, we've got two different constructions. So for the first part here, and the second part for nous and vous. Okay, but I took this special verb, prendre, to take on purpose because I thought that it was quite difficult. So, you know, now you can see the way to make it. And after that, well, first we'll see back again one more time the ending. So es, ions, ios, ent. Alright, but then now we'll see the verbs from the first group, so regular groups ending with er. After that, we'll see the second group, regular group verbs ending with er. Remember, not all the er verbs, but still. After that, we'll see verbs from the third group. After that, we'll see irregular verbs. And then finally, we'll finish with être and avoir. Okay, so let's see now the first group, and you will see that it's quite easy because we get que je parle, que tu parles, qu'il parle, qu'elle parle, que nous parlions, que vous parliez, qu'il parle, qu'elle parle. Alright, this is the subjunctive, and it's quite interesting because if you take the time to look at it, que je parle, it's exactly the same form as the present form. Que tu parles, same thing. Qu'il parle, qu'elle parle, exactly the same thing as the present form. And then qu'il parle, qu'elle parle, same. It's like the present form. Que nous parlions and que vous parliez, it's exactly the same thing as the imparfait. Alright? So normally, and that's the thing, if you watched all the videos, especially the video concerning the present tense and the imparfait, well, you know this subjunctive form already. Let's take a second verb. Que j'écoute, que tu écoutes, qu'il écoute, qu'elle écoute, que nous écoutions, que vous écoutiez, qu'ils écoutent, qu'elles écoutent. And it is exactly the same thing. This is like the present, like the present, like the present, and like the present. This is like the imparfait, and this is like the imparfait. Okay? Parler is to speak or to talk. Écouter, to listen. Alright? So now let's see how it goes for the second group. Alright? So second group, I took the classic example, finir, to finish or to end. Que je finisse, que tu finisses, qu'il finisse, qu'elle finisse, que nous finissions, que vous finissiez, qu'il finisse, qu'elle finisse. Okay? So you can see that, well, you've got the endings es, ions, sorry, iez, ent. Alright? And then, que je choisisse, que tu choisisses, qu'il choisisse, qu'elle choisisse, que nous choisissions, que vous choisissiez, qu'il choisisse, qu'elle choisisse. Alright? So the good thing is that for the second group of verbs, well, basically you don't have any difference, any major difference between the je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, and il, elle. You've got the same first part, okay? You just need to put the endings after. Alright? So, third group now, and I took the verb partir, que je parte, que tu partes, qu'il parte, qu'elle parte, que nous partions, que vous partiez, qu'il parte, qu'elle parte. Same thing here, not really difficult because anyway, it is exactly the same form. You just need to add at the end the endings. Parte, 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 partions, partiez, parte. Let's take another example. The verb mettre, to put, que je mette, que tu mettes, qu'il mette, qu'elle mette, que nous mettions, que vous mettiez, qu'ils mettent, qu'elle mette. So you can see that for these verbs, it's exactly the same thing. So actually, the first part will stay the same. You just need to put the endings according to what we saw previously. So es, ions, iez, ent. Okay, but then of course we've got some irregular verbs because we're talking about French language. So let's start now. And so the verb faire, to do, will become que je fasse. Okay, so here you've got the ending, and so it does mean that this first part will stay the same. You just need to change the endings. Que tu fasses es, qu'il fasse etc., etc. Alright? Savoir will give you que je sache. Okay? Same thing here. Is here, but then of course you will take it away, and after that you will put the endings that we saw, es, ions, iez, ent, according to the person, of course. And then pouvoir, can, will give you que je puisse. Exactly the same thing here. You take the away, and then you put the endings according to the person. Okay, so remember, faire, to do, que je fasse, savoir, to know, que je sache, pouvoir, can, que je puisse. Alright? And then, well, of course, I did put that, I forgot that. Ending es, ions, iez, ent. Of course, we've got some more tricky verbs, and aller is usually one of them. Aller means to go. Have a look. Que j'aille, que tu ailles, qu'il aille, qu'elle aille, que nous allions, que vous alliez, qu'ils aillent, qu'elles aillent. Okay, sorry, I did forget the feminine form here. Okay, so que j'aille, listen to me, aille, okay, que tu ailles, qu'il aille, qu'elle aille, que nous, and that's the difference here, allions, allions, okay, que vous alliez, okay, I don't make the liaison just for you to listen carefully, allier, okay, so if you want to make the liaison, que vous alliez, okay, and then qu'ils aillent, and the feminine form, qu'elles aillent, alright, and so the other tricky verb is vouloir, want, que je veuille, que tu veuilles, qu'il veuille, qu'elle veuille, que nous voulions, que vous vouliez, qu'il veuille, qu'elle veuille. Alright, same thing here, we'll have a quite important difference between the je, tu, il and nous, vous, okay? Que je veuille, que tu veuilles, qu'il veuille, qu'elle veuille, que nous voulions, que vous vouliez, qu'il veuille, qu'elle veuille. And of course, we'll finish with être and avoir because they are usually quite tricky. Être, so to be, will give you at the subjonctif que je sois, que tu sois, qu'il soit, qu'elle soit, que nous soyons, que vous soyez, qu'il soit, qu'elle soit. Okay, so as usual, good news is that soit, and then soit here. You write them differently, but then you pronounce them the same way. Okay, and then soyons here for nous, soyez for vous. So I repeat, que je sois, que tu sois, qu'il soit, qu'elle soit, que nous soyons, que vous soyez, qu'il soit, qu'elle soit. And last but not least, avoir, to have, que j'ai, que tu es, qu'il est, qu'elle est, que nous ayons, que vous ayez, qu'ils aient, qu'elles aient. Alright, so same thing here, and est. Phonetically the same, but try to remember how to write them, okay? And then ayons, ayez. So let's read them one more time. Que j'ai, que tu es, qu'il est, qu'elle est, que nous ayons, que vous ayez, qu'ils aient, qu'elles aient. Le passé du subjonctif. So remember in the previous video we saw le présent du subjonctif, and in that video or in this video we'll discover together how to make this past form of the subjunctive. Okay, so as in all the videos I've been making for the tenses or the modes, then it will be divided in two parts. The first part, l'utilisation or l'emploi, when do we use it, and then the second part will be la formation, so how do we construct this passé du subjonctif. Okay, so let's start with l'utilisation. And so remember that we will use this passé du subjonctif to express, of course, something that happened in the past, but then the expression of le regret, la satisfaction, la désapprobation, and la surprise. Okay, so if you want to express this, regret, satisfaction, désapprobation could be translated as disapproval, and then surprise. Okay, so the first one, regret. Okay, let's have a look at it. And we've got these structures. C'est dommage que, okay, it is a pity that, okay, and then if you continue with a past structure, it should be at the passé du subjonctif. Dommage que, well, exactly the same thing, but then it's more spoken because you've been dropping the subject and the verb, okay, so you can use that orally. In maybe not in formal situations, it would be better to use this c'est dommage que, okay? And then regretter, to regret, que, okay? And after that, you should put this passé du subjonctif, of course, if what comes after should be at the past form, all right? Then we'll see la satisfaction, okay? So here are the structures that we could use. C'est bien que, it is good that. Je suis content que, I am happy that. Or then, just as we had previously, content que, okay, so you just drop the subject and the verb, and then in that case it's more spoken, less formal. And ça me fait plaisir, it pleases me that. Okay, so if you want to introduce something in the past after, it should be at the passé du subjonctif. Désapprobation, and so we could have this ça m'ennuie que, it annoys me that, ça m'agace que, it bothers me that, je ne comprends pas que, I don't understand that, okay, and the same thing, what's coming after, if you want to express something in the past, then it should be le passé du subjonctif. And last but not least, la surprise, the surprise. C'est bizarre que, bizarre, strange, it's strange that. Je ne comprends pas que, I don't understand that. C'est drôle que, it's funny that. And if you want to express something after, at the past, it should be le passé du subjonctif. Okay, so now we'll see how to make this passé du subjonctif. And first, well, the best way will be to have a look at, well, this first sentence, que je mange, and it is the subjonctif présent form, okay? And the second one, que j'ai mangé. This is le passé du subjonctif. Second example, que tu regardes. Same thing here, you've got the subjonctif présent, and que tu aies regardé, here you've got the subjonctif passé. And the third example, qu'il aille, so it's the verb aller, to go, and it's the subjonctif présent. Qu'il soit allé, and here we've got as well le subjonctif passé. So if you have a look at it, first, what can you spot? You can spot that first here and here, you've got avoir, okay, the subjonctif présent form. And then after that, you've got this participe passé here and here. And here, we've got être. And after that, we've got the participe passé form. So from what you see, and so especially now this is unit 10, so I assume that you've been watching the previous videos that we've been making, or I've been making, concerning the composed tenses. And maybe here you can see that actually this passé du subjonctif will be constructed like all the composed tenses that we saw so far. So first, avoir, and then it should be at the subjonctif présent form. Then you will put your participe passé, and you will get your subjonctif passé. Or, in some cases, you will use être at the subjonctif présent form, then the participe passé, and you will get your subjonctif passé. So it's quite interesting because this passé du subjonctif is not really tricky when you think about the way it is made, okay? Because it will follow exactly the same rules as we've been seeing so far. So first, if you're not sure, you put avoir, okay? But then definitely you should know the conjugation of avoir at the subjonctif présent form. Then you will put your participe passé, and you'll get your subjonctif passé. Remember, for être, as usual, we're talking about exceptions, and here they come. Aller, to go. Arriver, to arrive. Descendre, to go down. Devenir, to become. Entrer, to enter, to come in. Monter, to go up. Mourir, to die. Naître, born. Partir, to leave. Rester, to stay. Retourner, to return. Sortir, to go out. Tomber, to fall. Venir, to come. All these verbs will be requiring être at this passé du subjonctif. Okay, and then of course, as we saw previously, all the reflexive verbs, so se regarder, s'appeler, for instance, se présenter, they will require être. So as long as you've got these verbs, you know, se something, then you should keep in mind that you will have to construct them with être, and of course they will behave a bit differently because you will have to add little things, but we'll see that in this lesson, don't worry. Okay, so now we should definitely review one more time the subjunctif présent form of avoir and être, because these are the first forms that we will use to construct this passé du subjonctif. Okay, and so avoir goes like que j'ai, que tu es, qu'il est, qu'elle est, que nous ayons, que vous ayez, qu'ils aient, qu'elles aient. Alright, so remember, one more time. Que j'ai, que tu es, qu'il est, qu'elle est, que nous ayons, que vous ayez, qu'ils aient, qu'elles aient. Alright, and then être will go like que je sois, que tu sois, qu'il soit, qu'elle soit, que nous soyons, que vous soyez, qu'il soit, qu'elle soit. Okay, and then one more time, just for the fun. Que je sois, que tu sois, qu'il soit, qu'elle soit, que nous soyons, que vous soyez, qu'il soit, qu'elle soit. Alright, so try to remember them by heart, because especially if you want to construct this passé du subjonctif, these forms are the first one that you will have to put, okay? Normally the second part, well, at this point you should start to remember them. This participe passé form should be quite okay, but then don't worry, we'll work on that, okay? Because, well, the thing you get to remember when it comes to the participe passé form is that for the first group of verbs, or regular verbs ending with er, it will be quite easy, because if we take the verb parler, to talk, to speak, so it's ending with this er, and then this participe passé will be parler with the accent. Okay? Regarder, to watch, same rule, it will end with this accent aigu. And then even aller, you know, this tricky verb from the third group, aller means to go, even this one is quite easy when it comes to the participe passé, because it will be aller. Second group of verbs, not all the er, remember, but then regular, and they're quite easy to make, because the verb like choisir, to choose, so ending with er, will become choisi. Okay? Finir, to finish, to end, will become fini. Alright, and then unir, to unite, will become uni. Alright, so er will become i. Of course, the third group of verb is quite tricky. I've been making a video regarding this participe passé thing, so if it's not clear for you, I would advise you to watch this video. But then, well, some subgroups, but of course they don't include everything. But so far, let's do that. So, connaître, to know, will become connu. Okay? Voir, so OIR will become vu, U. Alright? So, partir will become parti. Rire, so IRE, will become ri. Okay? And then the IT, phonetically you pronounce I, because final T is not pronounced, but still. Écrire, to write, écrit. By the way, partir is to leave, rire is to laugh, okay? So, écrire, to write, will become écrit. Dire, to say, will become dit. Alright, and then ES now, final S not pronounced, but still you need to write it. Mettre, for instance, EWTRE, will become mi, ES. Prendre, ENDRE, will become pris. Alright, but then if you're not sure, as I said, watch the video, because it will be useful. And then let's take the verb parler as we had, and let's put the passé du subjonctif form. So it goes like that. Que j'ai parlé, que tu aies parlé, qu'il ait parlé, qu'elle ait parlé, que nous ayons parlé, que vous ayez parlé, qu'ils aient parlé, qu'elles aient parlé. Alright, so as we saw, first you put avoir at the subjunctive present form, then you put your participe passé, and you will get here a beautiful passé du subjonctif. Okay, and if you noticed, I've been putting this accent aigu in orange just to show you that in normal structures like this one, when you've got first the subject and after that the verb, you shouldn't put anything after your or at the end of your participe passé. So even if like here the subject is feminine, nothing comes after. Okay, so que j'ai parlé, que tu aies parlé, qu'il ait parlé, qu'elle ait parlé, que nous ayons parlé, que vous ayez parlé, qu'ils aient parlé, qu'elles aient parlé. Alright, so that's the passé du subjonctif for the verb parler, to speak or to talk. Okay, but then, of course, we've got some tricky things, and if you remember from the past tenses that we saw, it's exactly the same rule. If we take, well, these verbs that will require être, like you see here, qu'il soit allé, okay? Remember, we saw that aller needs to be conjugated with être, like here, qu'il soit allé. So here, aller will end with accent aigu like that. But then, if we put the feminine form, so qu'elle soit allée, it will be exactly as we saw for all the other composed tenses. You will have to put at the end of your participe passé the mark of the feminine. And at the end is the mark of the feminine. If you get the plural, like here, il at the plural form, so soit, and then aller, well, you should put the mark of the plural at the end of your participe passé, and s is the mark of the plural. And last but not least, if you've got, like here, the feminine plural, so qu'elle soit allée, remember to put at the end of your participe passé first the mark of the feminine, so then the mark of the plural, s. The good thing, as usual in French, is you will pronounce it aller, 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 and aller. So technically you don't pronounce the final you don't pronounce the final s, and you don't pronounce the final es. But still, you should write them. Okay? So let's see now the full thing for aller, and it goes like that. Que je sois allé, okay, I won't make the liaison just to make it more clear, okay, que je sois allé, que tu sois allé, qu'il soit allé, qu'elle soit allée, que nous soyons allés, que vous soyez allés, qu'il soit allé, qu'elle soit allée. Alright, and now with the liaison, because I know that you want them, que je sois allé, que tu sois allé, remember, no liaison when we get these two, qu'il soit allé, qu'elle soit allée, que nous soyons allés, que vous soyez allés, qu'il soit allé, qu'elle soit allée. Alright? And then, now we can see these famous verbs, reflexive verbs, okay? So the one that we saw with the se something, okay? Que je me sois présenté. Okay, so it will go like that. Que je, and then remember for these reflexive verbs, you've got to put this me, so for je me sois présenté. Okay? Que je me sois présenté. Que tu te sois présenté. Okay, so we'll have to add this te. Qu'il se soit présenté, qu'elle se soit présentée, que nous nous soyons présentés, que vous vous soyez présentés, qu'il se soit présenté, qu'elle se soit présentée. Alright, so remember here, so you've got the option of the feminine. Same thing here, so here the masculine because it's il, he. Here you get the feminine because it's elle, she. Alright, here you get the plural form, and then masculine plural, so accent aigu S, and then accent aigu S for the feminine plural here, qu'elle se soit présentée. Okay? Alright, so if there is one thing to remember, it is the following. If you want to construct this passé du subjonctif, first you will have to put avoir at the subjonctif présent, then your participe passé, and you will get your subjonctif passé. In all these exceptions that we saw, être, subjonctif présent, and the participe passé, and you will get your subjonctif passé. Le subjonctif avec les conjonctions. So it will be one of few videos that I wanted to make regarding the subjunctive. So we've been introducing the subjunctive in the two previous videos, and then we'll see in this lesson and in the coming lessons when do we use this subjunctive form, because that's normally one of the big questions that students ask me. Okay, and so this first video will concentrate on le subjonctif avec les conjonctions. So let's discover together when do we use le subjonctif. So we will use le subjonctif after bien que. Okay, bien que. À supposer que, ok, à supposer que, en admettant que, en admettant que, avant que, avant que, ok, so let's repeat them, bien que, à supposer que, en admettant que, avant que. Okay, so keep in mind, after these expressions, you will have to use le subjonctif. Okay, let's continue now. Encore que. Encore que. Quoique. Quoique. De crainte que. De crainte que. De peur que. De peur que. Okay, so one more time. Encore que. Quoique. De crainte que. De peur que. And then remember, after these expressions, we will use le subjonctif. Okay, let's continue. À condition que. À condition que. Pourvu que, afin que, de manière que, alright, so one more time, à condition que, pourvu que, afin que, de manière que, and remember, after these expressions, you will use le subjonctif. De sorte que, pour que, de façon que, à moins que, okay, one more time, de sorte que, pour que, de façon que, à moins que, and then remember, after them, you will use le subjonctif. Jusqu'à ce que, quoique, en attendant que, sans que, one more time, jusqu'à ce que, quoique, en attendant que, sans que. And remember, after these, you will use le subjonctif. So we'll continue because we've been seeing that in the previous video as well. But then if you want to express l'opinion, le doute, or la possibilité, then with these things you will have to use le subjonctif. Okay, opinion, doute would be doubt, and then possibilité, possibility. Okay, so let's see together when are we going to use le subjonctif, and we are going to use le subjonctif after these expressions. So, il est douteux que. Okay, il est douteux que. Il est faux que. Il est faux que. Il est impossible que. Il est impossible que. Il est improbable que. Il est improbable que. Il est peu probable que. Il est peu probable que. Okay, so one more time. Il est douteux que. Il est faux que. Il est impossible que. Il est improbable que. Il est peu probable que. And remember, after these little things, you will have to use le subjonctif. Alright? Let's continue now. Il n'est pas probable que. Il n'est pas probable que. Il n'est pas certain que. Il n'est pas certain que. Il n'est pas sûr que. Il n'est pas sûr que. Il n'est pas clair que. Il n'est pas clair que. Il n'est pas exact que. Il n'est pas exact que. Okay, so one more time. Il n'est pas probable que. Il n'est pas certain que. Il n'est pas sûr que. Il n'est pas clair que. Il n'est pas exact que. And after these expressions, you will have to use le subjonctif. Okay, let's continue. Il n'est pas évident que. Il n'est pas évident que. Il n'est pas vrai que. Il n'est pas vrai que. Il est possible que. Il est possible que. Il est convenable que. Il est convenable que. Il est juste que. Il est juste que. Okay, so one more time. Il n'est pas évident que. Il n'est pas vrai que. Il est possible que. Il est convenable que. Il est juste que. And all these expressions will be followed by le subjonctif. Okay, so we continue. Accepter que. Okay, accepter que. Douter que. Douter que. S'attendre à ce que. S'attendre à ce que. Détester que. Détester que. Chercher, and then something, qui, and after, it will be followed by the subjonctif. Okay? So, one more time. Accepter que, douter que, s'attendre à ce que, détester que, chercher, qui, okay? And that will be followed by le. Well, if you want to express les sentiments et les émotions, so sentiments, feelings, and emotions, in many cases you will have to use le subjonctif, okay? And we'll see together all these expressions that will normally be followed by le subjonctif. Okay, so let's start now. And the first one is il est étonnant que. Il est étonnant que. Il est heureux que. Il est heureux que. Il est bon que. Il est bon que. Il est bizarre que. Il est bizarre que. Il est rare que. Il est rare que. Okay, one more time. So, il est étonnant que. Il est heureux que. Il est bon que. Il est bizarre que. And then, il est rare que. Remember, after all these expressions, you will have to use le subjonctif. Okay? And it continues. Il est regrettable que. Il est regrettable que. Il est honteux que. Il est honteux que. Il est étrange que. Il est étrange que. Il est surprenant que. Il est surprenant que. Il est dommage que. Il est dommage que. So one more time. Il est regrettable que. Il est honteux que. Il est étrange que. Il est surprenant que. And il est dommage que. And remember, after all these expressions, you will have to use le subjonctif. Alright? Let's continue. Il est utile que. Il est utile que. Il est inutile que. Il est inutile que. Apprécier que. Apprécier que. Avoir peur que. Avoir peur que. Être étonné que. Être étonné que. So one more time. Il est utile que. Il est inutile que. Apprécier que. Avoir peur que. Être étonné que. Will be followed by le subjonctif. And it continues. Avoir honte que. Avoir honte que. Se réjouir que. Se réjouir que. Être content que. Être content que. Être heureux que. Être heureux que. Être triste que. Être triste que. So one more time. Avoir honte que. Se réjouir que. Être content que. Être heureux que. Être triste que. And they will be followed by le subjonctif. And it continues. Être désolé que. Être désolé que. Être surpris que. Être surpris que. Déplorer que. Déplorer que. Redouter que. Redouter que. Craindre que. Craindre que. So one more time. Être désolé que. Être surpris que. Déplorer que. Redouter que. Craindre que. And they will be followed by le subjonctif. And it continues. Détester que. Détester que. Aimer que. Aimer que. Adorer que. Adorer que. Regretter que. Regretter que. So one more time. Détester que. Aimer que. Adorer que. Regretter que. And they will be followed by le subjonctif. Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent, and this is Unité 10, leçon F. And in this lesson we'll continue our big thing regarding le subjonctif, and in that case we'll see, well, when you want to express what we call les conseils, les désirs et les ordres, okay? So conseil could be translated as advices, désir, desires, and then ordre, orders, okay? So we'll see expressions that will require le subjonctif after them. Okay, so let's start now. And the first one is il vaut mieux que. Il vaut mieux que. Il est essentiel que. Il est essentiel que. Il est important que. Il est important que. Il est naturel que. Il est naturel que. Il est nécessaire que. Il est nécessaire que. So remember one more time. Il vaut mieux que. Il est essentiel que. Il est important que. Il est naturel que. Il est nécessaire que. And they will be followed by le subjonctif. Okay, so let's continue. Il faut que. Il faut que. Il est normal que. Il est normal que. Il est temps que. Il est temps que. Il est à souhaiter que. Il est à souhaiter que. Il est urgent que. Il est urgent que. OK? One more time. Il faut que. Il est normal que. Il est temps que. Il est à souhaiter que. Il est urgent que. And they should be followed by le subjonctif. Okay, and it continues. Demandez que. Demandez que. Évitez que. Évitez que. Exigez que. Exigez que. Désirez que. Désirez que. Interdire que. Interdire que. Okay, so let's say that one more time. Demandez que. Évitez que. Exiger que. Désirer que. Interdire que. And all these expressions should be followed by le subjonctif. Okay? Tenir à ce que. Tenir à ce que. Aimer mieux que. Aimer mieux que. S'opposer que. S'opposer que. Commander que. Commander que. Donner l'ordre que. Donner l'ordre que. One more time. Tenir à ce que. Aimer mieux que. S'opposer que. Commander que. Donner l'ordre que. And they should be followed by le subjonctif. Ordonner que. Ordonner que. Permettre que. Permettre que. Préférer que. Préférer que. Empêcher que. Empêcher que. Proposer que. Proposer que. One more time. Ordonner que. Permettre que. Préférer que. Empêcher que. Proposer que. And they should be followed by le subjonctif. Recommander que. Recommander que. Suggérer que. Suggérer que. Vouloir que. Vouloir que. Souhaiter que. Souhaiter que. One more time. Recommander que. Suggérer que. Vouloir que. Souhaiter que. And remember, they should be followed by le subjonctif. And that's it for this video. If you want more videos, then youtube.com/imagier is waiting for you, and the website imagier.net is also waiting for you. Have a great day. This one will concentrate on les structures à la forme négative. So remember, structures in which the verbs will be at the negative forms, and we'll discover, well, these structures. Okay, so the first one is il ne paraît pas que. Il ne paraît pas que. Il ne me semble pas que. Il ne me semble pas que. So we've got this me like that just because it would be possible to put someone else. Il ne te semble pas, il ne lui semble pas, etc. Okay? Il n'est pas certain que. Il n'est pas certain que. Il n'est pas sûr que. Il n'est pas sûr que. Il n'est pas clair que. Il n'est pas clair que. Okay, so one more time. Il ne paraît pas que. Il ne me semble pas que. Il n'est pas certain que. Il n'est pas sûr que. Il n'est pas clair que. And they should be followed by le subjonctif. Okay? Ça continue. Il n'est pas exact que. Il n'est pas exact que. Il n'est pas évident que. Il n'est pas évident que. Il n'est pas probable que. Il n'est pas probable que. Il n'est pas vrai que. Il n'est pas vrai que. Ce n'est pas que. Ce n'est pas que. Okay, so one more time. Il n'est pas exact que. Il n'est pas évident que. Il n'est pas probable que. Il n'est pas vrai que. Ce n'est pas que. And they should be followed by le subjonctif. Okay? And it continues. Ne pas être certain que. Ne pas être certain que. Ne pas être sûr que. Ne pas être sûr que. Ne pas croire que. Ne pas croire que. Ne pas trouver que. Ne pas trouver que. ne pas espérer que, ne pas espérer que, and now I will make the liaison, ne pas être certain que, ne pas être sûr que, ne pas croire que, ne pas trouver que, ne pas espérer que, and they should be followed by le subjonctif, okay? Ne pas connaître quelqu'un qui, okay? Ne pas connaître quelqu'un qui. Ne pas vouloir dire que, ne pas vouloir dire que. Ne pas dire que, ne pas dire que. Ne pas penser que, ne pas penser que. Ne pas savoir que, ne pas savoir que. Okay, so one more time. Ne pas connaître quelqu'un qui, ne pas vouloir dire que, ne pas dire que, ne pas penser que, ne pas savoir que, and all these expressions should be followed by le subjonctif, le participe présent, okay? And so, well, this video will be divided in two parts. The first one, when do we use it? So, l'emploi, okay? And the second part, how do we make it? So, la formation, all right? So, we'll first start with the l'emploi. So, how do we, or when do we use this participe présent? One of the first and most common way to use le participe présent is to construct what we call le gérondif. And then le gérondif, normally you will write it or you will construct it with la préposition en, like that, and you will put your participe présent form, so the form that we'll discover in this video, okay? And the idea of this gérondif is just to express two actions, so des actions simultanées, so two things are taking place at the same time, okay? So you get this gérondif form that you can use to express this thing. For instance, il marche en écoutant de la musique. Okay, so it's in red, this écoutant, just to show you that this is what we call le participe présent here. So first you get this en and then écoutant. So il marche, marche is to walk, so he's walking, en écoutant, okay? And remember, so if we use this gérondif form, as I said, we want to express the fact that two things are happening at the same time. Écouter is to listen, okay? So il marche, he's walking, and he's listening to some music, so il écoute de la musique. And in that case, well, you use en écoutant, and then you want to express the fact that it's happening at the same time. Il marche en écoutant de la musique. Alright, so that's the first use of this gérondif form. The second use is, of course, to use or to express two actions, donc des actions simultanées, but then in that case it's possible to write or to construct that without this preposition en, but keep in mind that it's in most of the cases you will use these structures when you write, principalement à l'écrit, okay? Normally, if you want to use it orally, you will use this gérondif form, so the form that we saw previously, okay? But then it's possible to use it like that, so think about that, and it's mostly if you want to write it. So, regardant le frigo, okay, regarder is to watch or to look, frigo, the fridge. Elle se dit qu'elle doit aller acheter à manger. Okay, so she tells herself, if you want, that she must go and buy some food. Donc, regardant le frigo, elle se dit qu'elle doit aller acheter à manger. Okay, so in that case, when you put this participe présent here, well, clearly it's because you want to say that this first thing here and the second thing here, well, they are happening at the same time, okay? But keep in mind that this structure is when you write. If you want to use it orally, then in that case you should use this preposition en first and then use this form that we call gérondif that we saw a few minutes before, okay? And then the last use of this participe présent is if you want pour remplacer une subordonnée relative. Okay, so we saw previously les pronoms relatifs. Okay, so if you don't know what une subordonnée relative is, I definitely advise you to try to find les pronoms relatifs and it will be more clear. And so we can, take this example like with qui. Les personnes qui parlent. Alright, so in that case, les personnes qui parlent, so the persons who are talking, speaking, okay? So in the first one, well, you get this pronom relatif, qui, and then you get the verb, okay? But it's possible to replace this qui parle with le participe présent. So you will get les personnes parlant. Alright, so it's the last use that we get of this participe présent, and it's quite common. It's not really rare. I mean, we tend to use it quite normally, as well, when you write or when you talk, okay? So it's quite useful to know how to, well, make it and then when to use it, okay? And so that's what we'll discover in the second part. So how do we make this participe présent form? It is quite easy, especially at this level now, because you will have to, well, first know the new form of the verb at the present time, so at the present tense, sorry, nous parlons, okay? And then if you remember this ONS ending is usually the ending for nous, so first you need to spot it, then you will take it away, so we keep this P-A-R-L part, and at the end we will add A-N-T. Alright, so we get here this participe présent form. Okay, so remember, new form at the present tense, and then you spot the ending ONS, you take it away, you get parle like that, and then you just add this A-N-T at the end, and you will get this participe présent. Okay, so I took, just to start, this parler. Parler is to speak or to talk, and it's the first group, so it's actually quite easy to make. Let's see now. Second group, finir, to finish or to end, and so we get nous finissons, remember, the new form of the present tense, nous finissons. And it's exactly the same rule, so you spot or you try to find the ending here. It's O-N-S, okay? We'll do exactly the same thing, so we'll take it away, and we get finisse, like that, F-E-N-E-S-S, alright? And we just follow the same rule, so we just add at the end A-N-T, like that, here, and we get finissant, okay? And this form is the participe présent. Okay, let's see now a verb from the third group. So normally, third group, just we've got the irregular verbs. So of course, it's quite interesting to have a look at them. And then I just took the verb prendre. Prendre is to take. And then we get the form nous prenons. Okay, nous prenons. Exactly the same thing. So we spot this O-N-S. So the ending, we take it away and we get P-R-E-N, and after that we just add this A-N-T ending, and we get prenant. Alright, so it's actually quite easy to make, especially if you master quite well the present tense. Normally at this level, you should. Okay, so let's see. Nous parlons, so you get parle, and participe présent, parlant. Nous finissons, finissent, and then you will get finissant. Then nous prenons, prennent, prenant. Alright, but then of course, you know now French language, and we've got exceptions. But the good thing is that we've got only 3 exceptions. The first one is être, and it will give you étant. So étant will be the participe présent form of être. Être is to be. And then avoir, of course, to have, and you will get ayant. Okay, ayant will be the participe présent form of avoir. And the last one will be savoir. Savoir is to know, and we will get sachant. Okay, sachant. So étant for être, ayant for avoir, and then sachant for le gérondif together. So we've been introducing that a little bit in the previous lesson in which we saw le participe présent, but then this video will be only for le gérondif. Okay, so I hope after that everything will be clear. And so we can start. So as usual, this video will be divided in two parts. The first one will be l'emploi, so when do we use it? And the second part would be la formation, how do we make this gérondif form? Okay, so let's start now with l'emploi. Okay, and so le gérondif, normally if you want to make or to construct this gérondif, you will first have to use la préposition en, and after that you will have to add your participe présent form. Okay, so this gérondif will express two actions that will take place at the same time, so action simultanée. Alright, so the example is quite simple here. Il marche, okay, en écoutant de la musique. So you can see that in this sentence here, we've got first il marche, so he is walking, marcher is to walk. En écoutant, so here we've got this preposition en, as we saw here. That's the first part of your gérondif. And the second part here is the participe présent, écouter. So the verb écouter is to listen, and this is the participe présent form de la musique. So in that case, you just want to express that he's walking and at the same time he's listening to music. Okay, so il marche en écoutant de la musique. Alright? So let's see now how do we make this gérondif. So remember, as we saw previously, first you will have to use la préposition en, then you will have to use le participe présent, and you will get a beautiful gérondif. Remember the way to make this participe présent form. Normally you will have to master the present tense, and normally if you take, well, if we take the example of parler, parler is to speak or to talk, okay, we'll get nous parlons at the present tense of, so the form should be at the nous person, and so you will actually spot here the ending ons, okay, and the idea is to take it away, so you get parle, and after that you will add ant, and you will get parlant. Okay, this will be this participe présent form that you will have to add after your preposition en. Okay, second group, finir, to finish, to end, nous finissons, okay, and it will be exactly the same way to proceed. So we spot this ons, so the ending, we take it away and we get finis, and after that we just add this ant ending and we'll get finissant. So this is the participe présent form. Third group, to take, prendre, nous prenons, present tense. Same thing here, we spot the ending, so ons, we take it away, we get prennent, and then participe présent will be prenant. Alright, so remember, nous parlons, parle, parlant, nous finissons, finissent, finissant, nous prenons, so prennent, and then prenant. Okay, so it's quite easy to make. Of course, we've got exceptions, only 3, and that's a good thing. The first one is être, to be, so it will give you étant, so this is the participe présent form. Avoir will give you ayant, avoir is to have, and then savoir, to know, will give you sachant. Okay, so only 3 exceptions, and it's a good thing in French, because normally we've got more exceptions, so only 3. Être, étant, avoir, ayant, savoir, sachant. Okay, so let's see now 2 examples. So I wanted to write them just to make it clear that to make it sure that everything is clear. I will manage. Il mange et il regarde la télévision en même temps. Okay, so il mange, manger is to eat, et il regarde, regarder is to watch, la télévision, en même temps, the expression means at the same time. So in that case, in that sentence, it would be possible, of course, to write this sentence like that. Il mange et il regarde la télévision en même temps. But then, as we saw, and that's the whole idea of this video, we've got this gérondif form possibility just to avoid well, repeating this or using this en même temps, okay, and just to make it, well, shorter. So in that case, what we could do is we could, well, keep the first part, of course, il mange, all right, and then instead of il regarde la télévision en même temps, well, this en même temps will go away because at the same time we don't need to repeat it because, well, that's the whole concept of the gerundive. And then we just need to transform il regarde, all right? So it will become regardant for the participe présent form, and just before we'll put this preposition. So il mange en regardant la télévision. Okay, so it's exactly the same thing, but then, of course, the sentence is much shorter. And then the second example that we could have here, elle dessine et elle téléphone à son ami en même temps. Okay, so dessiner is to draw, téléphoner, well, to phone, à son ami, at her friend, en même temps, at the same time. Okay, so exactly the same thing, we just want to make the sentence shorter and lighter, so we'll keep first, of course, elle dessine, so the first verb should be here, but then here we've got a elle téléphone, so we should modify this téléphone and then put the participe présent form. So the participe présent form of téléphoner is téléphonant, okay? Before that we put la préposition en, and we continue the sentence à son ami. And that's it. Elle dessine en téléphonant à son ami. Le superlatif. So the superlatif in English, it would be the most or the least. Okay, so we'll see how to make it in French. So first, we'll see how to express this the most expression in English. And of course, in French, we've got the difference between the masculine form, le plus, the feminine form, la plus, and the plural form, les plus. Okay, so keep in mind that I don't pronounce this final S here, so we get le plus, la plus, les plus. Okay, and then if we want to express this the least, in French it will be le moins, feminine form, la moins, and then the plural form, les moins. Okay, so le moins, remember when we combine this O-I-N together, we get the sound ouin, 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 okay, and we don't pronounce this final S. Le moins, la moins, les moins. Okay, so let's see now. Le plus, le moins, la plus, la moins, les plus, les moins. And normally, in most of the cases, they will be followed by whether an adjective or then an adverb, okay? And in this video, we'll see how to construct this superlative form, first with an adjective and after that with an adverb, okay? So, first part adjective, second part adverb, and then we'll discover in this first part les adjectifs. So, how to construct un superlatif avec un adjectif. And I wanted to, well, take some easy sentences just to make it as clear as possible, okay? And so this sentence is quite simple but quite interesting if you have a look at it. Il est le plus grand. Okay, so this is le superlatif. We take the adjective grand and it's tall, okay? Il est le plus grand. So have a look here. We've got le, just because we've got the subject here, il, okay? And it's masculine, singular, le, and then plus, and we put the adjective grand just right after. Okay, if you have a look at the feminine form, it's quite interesting because you've got elle, so she, elle est la plus grande. So the first thing that we've got to see is that we will use this la, okay, because it's the feminine form, so we should put la, it's the singular, feminine, so la, plus doesn't change. And have a look at your adjective, so grand. You will have to add this at the end of your adjective just to get the feminine form of your adjective, okay? Keep in mind that we've got some adjectives that change a little bit more than this one. If we want to put the feminine form, we saw that in a previous video. So if you want to have a look, you should use the search engine of the channel and use this adjective keyword, okay? And then if you have a look now at the plural form, ils sont les plus grands. Okay, so here we will put this plural form because we've got ils here, they, okay? So les plus, and then have a look at your adjective here, grand. Remember, we will put this final S at the end of the adjective just to mark the plural form. And for the feminine form here, so we've got the elles, so they, but the feminine form, elles sont. So les will stay the same, okay? So it's quite a good news because les will cover the plural, so whether it's masculine or feminine, it will be the same, les here, okay? But then your adjective grand, of course, should first have this mark of the feminine and S mark of the plural form. Okay, so let's see how they sound now. Il est le plus grand, elle est la plus grande, ils sont les plus grands, elles sont les plus grandes. Okay, so phonetically what you can hear is that this first form here for the masculine, grand, so you don't pronounce the final D, will be exactly the same as the plural form for the masculine, grand. You don't pronounce the final D, you don't, the D here, and you don't pronounce the final S. Okay, so grand, and then same thing here, grand. And regarding the feminine form, you will pronounce it grande. Okay, don't insist on the final but then pronounce this D, grande, and then exactly the same pronunciation, grande. Alright, so you don't pronounce this final S. Okay, so one more time. Il est le plus grand, elle est la plus grande, ils sont les plus grands, elles sont les plus grandes. Alright? So what if we put this least concept? So it will be il est le moins grand, so it will follow exactly the same rule. So first you will put this le just because it's masculine, and then you put your adjective after. Elle est la moins grande, okay? Keep in mind that you will have to put the feminine form of the adjective here, and then you will put this la just because the subject is feminine, okay? Ils sont les moins grands, okay? For the plural, les, and then S at the end of your adjective. Elles sont les moins grandes, so les for the plural, and then S at the end of your adjective for the feminine plural form. Okay? Let's see now if you want to construct this superlative form with an adverb. Okay, so il marche le plus vite. Okay, marcher is to walk, and vite means fast. Il marche le plus vite. Alright? If you want to put the feminine form, elle marche la plus vite. So the good news here is that your adverb, vite, will stay exactly the same. So you don't need, and look, for the plural, il marche le plus vite, you don't need to modify it. You just put it after this le plus or la plus or les plus. Okay? And then you don't need to put whether the mark of the feminine or the mark of the plural, it doesn't change at all. So, il marche le plus vite, elle marche la plus vite, il marche les plus vite, elle marche les plus vite. Okay, so it's quite simple, and then logically, for the least, il marche le moins vite, elle marche la moins vite, il marche les moins vite, elle marche les moins vite. Alright, so exactly the same thing. Le for the masculine singular, la for the feminine singular, and then you've got les for the plural form. Moins, 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 and your adverb, and it doesn't change whether it's masculine, feminine, or plural. Okay? Keep in mind that if you want to construct this superlative, and then after that you want to introduce what we call un complément, you will have to put de. So, the example here, il est le plus intelligent de la famille, of the family. It's exactly the same thing in French. We've got to use this complément de la famille. Okay? But then have a look here. Of course, as usual in French, when we combine this de and then the article le, it will become du. Okay, so il est le plus intelligent de la famille. So it's the feminine form here, de la famille. Elle est la plus grande du quartier. Quartier, neighborhood. Du quartier, so it's masculine. Okay, le superlatif avec un nom. Okay, so le superlatif, remember it's the most or the least in English. Okay, we saw in the previous video how to construct it with an adjective or an adverb, and in that case here it will be a really short one, but still if we want to construct this superlative form with a noun, avec un nom, let's see how we'll make that. So it's quite simple because you don't really need to care about whether it's masculine, feminine or plural. You just put le plus de or le moins de, so the most, the least, okay? And after that you will put your noun. Okay, le plus de, le moins de, and then your noun. Okay, so let's have a look now how to construct it. C'est la ville, this is the town, où, where, il y a, there is, le plus de fontaines. Fontaines, fountains. C'est la ville où il y a le plus de fontaines. And then, c'est la ville où il y a le moins de voitures. Voiture, car. So let's have a look at these these two sentences, sorry. The first thing that we've got to spot is, well, here it's le plus, and here it's le moins, so you don't really care whether it's masculine or if feminine or plural. You just put le plus, the most, le moins, the least. And then remember that you will have to put your preposition de right after, and have a look, because your noun, fontaine and voiture here, should be without any articles before. Okay, so c'est la ville où il y a le plus de fontaines, sorry. C'est la ville où il y a le moins de voitures. Okay, and that's the way that you can use if you want to construct this superlatif avec un. Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent, and this is Unité 10, leçon L. And in this lesson we'll see together how to construct these structures or sentences when you want to start with if. If in French it's si. Okay, so les structures avec si. So let's start now. The first option we'll have is if we want to express la possibilité. The second one, le désir. And the last one, le regret. Okay, so possibilité, possibility, désir, desire, and then regret, regret. And so we'll start with la possibilité. So if we want to express this possibilité thing, the first option we'll have is si, and it will be constructed with the présent, and it will be followed by le futur. Okay, so let's have an example here. Si tu viens à la maison, okay, venir is to come, à la maison, at home, nous ferons, so that's the future form of faire, so we will do, un gâteau, a cake. Okay, si tu viens à la maison, nous ferons un gâteau. Alright, so that's the, well, first, construction that we could have, and in that case it's si tu viens à la maison, so it's a possibility, nous ferons un gâteau. Second example, si elle achète une voiture, acheter is to buy, une voiture, a car, nous partirons en vacances avec elle. Partir here, okay, to leave, and then you've got the future form, we will leave en vacances, vacation, on the holidays, avec elle, with her. Okay, so you can see that in that case, you've got first here the present form, and it's followed by the future form. Okay, so this is quite easy to make. Okay, remember, si plus présent, then the future. We've got a second possibility if we want to express this idea, and it's si plus le présent, followed by l'impératif. Let's have a look now. The first one. Si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas. Okay, and it's quite common to use this structure. So, si vous avez des questions, so avoir is to have. If you have des questions, some questions. N'hésitez pas, don't hesitate, okay? And you can see that in that structure, well, we've got si, and then we've got the present form, and it's followed by l'impératif, okay? Second example, si vous êtes pressé, okay, être, to be, and then pressé, in a hurry. Si vous êtes pressé, prenez un taxi. And here you get prenez, prendre, to take. Un taxi, a cab. Si vous êtes pressé, prenez un taxi. Alright? So remember, it would be possible to use this si and then the present form, and it's followed by l'impératif. Okay? So keep in mind, if we want to express this possibility thing, the first one, si, and then the present form followed by the future, or si, and then the present form followed by l'impératif. Second category, if you want to express the desire, le désir. And then normally, we will use si avec l'imparfait, and it should be followed by le conditionnel présent. Ok? Donc si plus imparfait, and then conditionnel présent. Let's take one example here. Si je gagnais au loto, je ferais le tour du monde. Si je gagnais, gagner is to win, au loto, je ferais, it's the conditional form of to do, faire, okay, so I would do, okay, le tour du monde. Okay, so I would travel around the world if you want, but then in French we would use this, je ferais le tour du monde. Okay, and then the idea is that here it's a desire, it's something that you would like to do, okay, but maybe it would happen, but you're not sure about that. Okay, so si je gagnais au loto, je ferais le tour du monde. And then the second example, si elle pouvait, elle prendrait une semaine de vacances. Okay, so here you've got this pouvoir form, can, and it's at the imparfait form, and it's followed by the conditionnel présent, prendre, to take, okay, une semaine, 1 week, de vacances, vacation, okay, holiday. So, if she could, she would take 1 week off if you want, okay, or vacation week. But then in French, remember that we will construct this sentence first with si, and it should be followed by l'imparfait, and that's the rule. Then, after that, you will put this conditionnel présent form. Okay, so this is normally the tricky construction, because in many cases students will start to make this si, and then as in it's the case in many languages, they would put this first the conditionnel présent, and then it will be followed by the conditionnel présent. But no, in French, keep in mind that si, then you'll put this imparfait form, je gagnais, elle pouvait, and after that you will put this conditionnel présent, je ferais, elle prendrait. Okay, and the last one, le regret. And only if we want to express this regret concept, then we will start with si, and it should be followed by le plus que parfait, and after that you will put conditionnel passé. So this structure is really when you regret something. So it's over now. It's not possible to change anything because it's in the past, okay? But then, let's see one example. Si j'avais eu le temps, j'aurais pris un café. Okay? And the main concept in that, with that structure, is that it's over. So it's not possible. So you just regret that. Si j'avais eu le temps, okay? So if you can spot this thing, it's avoir, and it's at the, plus que parfait form, okay? Si j'avais eu le temps, j'aurais pris, here it's prendre, to take, and if you have a look, it's at the conditionnel passé form, un café. Okay, let's see the second example. Si vous aviez vu le film, vous auriez pleuré. Okay, so here you have voir, okay, and it's the plus que parfait form. Vous auriez pleuré. Here you get pleurer, okay, to cry, and it's at the conditionnel passé form. Okay, so that's the, well, classic structure that you can use if you want to express regrets, okay, with this if structure. Okay, well, that's it. If you want more videos, then youtube.com/imagier and the website imagier.net is waiting for you. Bye bye. Le discours indirect. So first, we'll see a few examples just to make it clear and to, well, discover what this discours indirect is. After that, we'll see how to make it, so la formation. And the last part will be, well, we'll discover together the verbs that you could use to introduce this discours indirect, okay? But then let's start with les exemples, few examples, okay? And, well, it's quite interesting because I wanted to put simple, well, sentences here. Elle pense, penser is to think. Le vendeur est compétent, okay? Le vendeur, the seller, is compétent, competent. So it's, of course, it's possible to use a sentence like that, you know. Elle pense, and then you put deux points and ouvrez les guillemets. Le vendeur est compétent. What if I would like to transform this sentence and use this elle pense que, okay? So same thing in English, it could be she thinks or she thinks that. And that's the whole concept of this discours indirect. And the sentence could be transformed like that. Elle pense que, so she thinks that. And have a look, le vendeur est compétent. So it's quite easy in that case, and of course I took on purpose a simple sentence to start, but then it's just to show you that, well, the sentence doesn't change that much. Of course you will have to take this guillemets away and then deux points, so everything should go away, but then in that case the sentence doesn't change that much. Elle pense que le vendeur est compétent. Alright? But then, of course, if you have a look at a sentence like that, il dit, dire is to say, so he says, je veux prendre un café. So, je veux, I want, it's vouloir, to want. Je veux prendre, prendre is to take, un café, a coffee. I want to take a coffee. So if you want to transform this sentence, it will be a bit different, because in the first sentence it was quite simple, because you had this il and elle, but in that case, well, of course, you've got the je veux, and you need to transform this thing, so you need to adapt it, because here we've got the subject, so subject is masculine, and then it's at the third person, so il dit. So you will put this que, as we had previously, and you will need to change je. You will need to change it into il, okay, because that's the subject, il. The verb should be at the third person, so have a look here. First person it's with x at the end, third person is with t at the end. Prendre un café, well, it doesn't change. So normally it's the subject and the verb that will be affected if they are, okay? So in that case, il dit qu'il veut prendre un café. And of course, as usual in French, this que, if there is a vowel after, so remember this will have to go away. So you will get this qu'il. Il dit qu'il veut prendre un café. Okay, so this is this discours indirect, so the indirect form of il dit je veux prendre un café. It will be transformed like il dit qu'il veut prendre un café. Okay, so a third example, elle promet, je viendrai ce soir. Okay, promettre is to promise, and then je viendrai, so I will come ce soir. Okay, and here, elle promet, okay, que, so we should first have this que. Of course, as we had in the previous example, you must modify this je, okay? So we've got here the subject and it's feminine, so it should be the third person of the feminine, qu'elle, okay? Here we've got the future form, je viendrai, So you should put the verb at the future form as well, but then for elle, it will be elle viendra, and then ce soir doesn't change. Okay? Elle promet qu'elle viendra ce soir. So, if we want to discover, or not really discover because we saw that, la formation, so keep in mind that you will put first, well, the first sentence or the first part of the sentence, then que, okay, could be translated with that in English, and the rest of the sentence or the second sentence, okay, that you should, in some cases, modify. Okay, we're talking about the subject and the verb. Keep in mind that que, if it is combined, as we saw, with a vowel, will become que, like that, okay, so needs to go away. So, the example, the classical example that we had was que and il, and it's becoming qu'il. It could be que and elle, and it will become qu'elle. Okay, or if we're talking about first names, you know, first names that will start with a vowel, it will be exactly the same thing. Okay, and so now let's see the verbs that you could have or that you could use to introduce this discours indirect. Okay, and the list will start now. Affirmer, ajouter, annoncer, déclarer, dire. Okay, so affirmer, ajouter, annoncer, déclarer, dire, expliquer, promettre, répondre, admettre, assurer. Alright, so expliquer, promettre, répondre, admettre, assurer, avouer, confirmer, constater, crier, démentir. So, avouer, confirmer, constater, crier, démentir, s'écrier, s'exclamer, jurer, objecter, préciser, s'écrier, s'exclamer, jurer, objecter, préciser, prétendre, proposer, reconnaître, remarquer, répliquer, prétendre, proposer, reconnaître, remarquer, répliquer. And the list could continue, but then still I wanted to introduce the, well, main verbs that will, well, require or that you could use to construct a discours indirect. Keep in mind that you will have to put this que after these verbs. Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent, and this is Unité 10, leçon N. And we'll see in this video, le discours indirect, so it's the second part of this discours indirect, and in that case we'll see les expressions de temps. Just because, as we saw, normally in most of the cases, the thing or the things that will change when you want to construct this discours indirect are the subject and the verbs. But, of course, if you're using this expression de temps, well, they will change, of course, and we'll see how they will change. So, normally, if you say aujourd'hui, so at the direct form, aujourd'hui, today, if you want to transpose that at this discours indirect form, it will become ce jour-là, this day, ce jour-là, okay? So, aujourd'hui is not possible to be used in this discours indirect form, but then you should use instead ce jour-là, okay? Same thing, ce matin, this morning, you will use ce matin-là, okay? Ce soir, ce soir-là. And then, en ce moment, at this time, en ce moment, should be à ce moment-là. Okay, so remember, aujourd'hui will become ce jour-là if you change a sentence and if you put it at le discours indirect. Ce matin will become ce matin-là. Ce soir will become ce soir-là. and then en ce moment will become à ce moment-là. Okay, let's see. Hier, yesterday, and so it will become la veille. Avant-hier, so the day before yesterday, l'avant-veille. Il y a 5 jours, so remember we've got this il y a structure to say this ago, so 5 jours, 5 days. 5 days ago, in French it's il y a 5 jours. And then if you transpose this, il y a 5 jours, into this discours indirect, it will become 5 jours plus tôt. Okay, plus tôt, earlier. Okay, so hier will become la veille, avant-hier will become l'avant-veille, and then il y a 5 jours will become 5 jours plus tôt. Okay, and we can continue if you want with demain. Demain is tomorrow, and tomorrow will become le lendemain, the following day, le lendemain. Après-demain, after tomorrow, and it will become le surlendemain. Okay, and dans 5 jours, in 5 days, will become 5 jours plus tard, later. Okay, so keep in mind that demain will become le surlendemain if you change your structure into this discours indirect. Après-demain will become le surlendemain, and then dans 5 jours, in 5 days, will become 5 jours plus tard, 5 days later. Okay, that was it. It was simple and short, and I hope it was clear. If you want more videos, then youtube.com/imagier and the website imagier.net is waiting for you. Have a great day. Bye bye. Le discours indirect, les modifications dans la phrase. So we saw together in the 2 previous videos this discours indirect, so the way to construct it, and then few modifications that can happen when you make this discours indirect. So if you didn't watch the previous videos, I definitely advise you to do so because it will be more clear. But then still, what we can do is we can do a really fast overview and review of the discours indirect, because, well, the discours indirect is basically if you've got, well, one sentence like that. Elle pense, le vendeur est compétent. Okay, penser is to think, she thinks. Le vendeur, the seller, est compétent, is competent. Okay, so in that case, it's possible to have this kind of structure, okay? But then if you want to combine these 2 sentences into one, you can just modify it, and that's what we call the discours indirect in that case, because you will get elle pense, so she thinks, que, that, and then you continue your sentence. Le vendeur est compétent. Okay, so in that sentence it's quite simple because, well, if you have a look at the first structure we've got here, and then the second structure we've got here, it doesn't change that much. You only need to add this que, and then you will remove few things, but then no main changes into your second part or this part of the sentence. Okay, but we'll see that in this video, of course, in some cases, when you switch or when you modify and you make this discours indirect, well, you will have some quite important modifications in your sentence, okay? But then, well, the rule goes like you will first have the first part of the sentence, then you will have your que, okay, that, and then the sentence will continue. Okay, so that's the whole concept of this discours indirect. So it evolves around this que thing, and then remember that, of course, as usual in French, if we've got vowels coming after, then this will have to go away. Okay, so let's see now one first example. Il dit, okay, dire is to say. He says, je pense que le film est bon. Je pense, so penser, I think, that le film est bon. Okay? So if you want to modify this sentence, of course, you will have to change it a little bit, because it's not possible to say, il dit que je, okay? So the subject, it's not possible to continue with je in that case because you will have to modify it and adapt it. So in that case, it should be il, okay? Il pense que le film est bon, all right? So that's the only thing that you will have to modify, so it's not really difficult, but keep in mind that, of course, if the subject goes like that, so je, of course, you will have to modify it and, well, put it according to the first subject here, so il dit, okay? Let's see now a second example. Il dit, je te regarde, okay? So, same thing, so il dit, to say, so he says, je te regarde. So if you remember, we saw these pronouns before. So I am looking or watching you, okay? But then in French, we put these pronouns before the verb, okay? And it's interesting because in that sentence, of course, you can notice that we will have to modify this first, je, pronom personnel, and then, well, probably we'll have to modify this te as well, okay, because I look or I watch or I look at you, okay, this you must be changed, of course, if we switch it to the indirect discours, okay? So let's see now, and it's quite interesting because in that case, if you get the sentence just like that, without any previous informations, whether this te is for a boy or a girl, then it can be quite tricky because we don't really know, and we'll have two options. The first one, il dit qu'il, okay, so this il is the je that you modified, or you modify according to il here, okay, so it must be the same. And then it can be le if the person is masculine, so if he is looking at another person who is a man or a boy, so in that case it should be le. Il le regarde. Okay? And then the second option, well, it's almost the same, but if you look carefully, il dit qu'il la regarde. Okay? And in that case, it would be a woman or a girl, okay, according to what was, well, previously said. So in that case, we really need to know before whether we're talking about a boy or a girl, a man or a woman, okay? Because if we don't, then it can be tricky to modify and put this discours indirect, because we won't have any clue whether it's le or la, okay? Another example, il dit, je présente ma proposition. Okay, so here, same thing. So yeah, if I translate the sentence, it's quite, well, simple. So, dire is to say, we saw that previously. Je présente, présenter is to present, ma proposition, my proposition or proposal if you want. Okay, je présente ma proposition. So in that sentence, we know, of course, because we've been seeing that in the previous examples, that je will have to change. And then, in that case, we assume that this ma, so adjective possessive, will have to change also. And let's have a look. So, il dit qu'il, okay, so exactly the same thing that we saw previously, présente, and then you will have to adapt, of course, this adjective possessive, so it won't be the first one, so ma, my, okay, but it will be, well, ça, so third person of the singular. Okay, remember that in French, we will put this feminine form, ça, just because the word it is connected to, so proposition is feminine. Alright? Okay, so il dit qu'il présente sa proposition. Il dit, je vous présente ma proposition. So it's almost the same sentence as we had previously, but then I wanted to introduce this vous Okay, so another pronoun. Je vous présente ma proposition. Okay, so as we saw previously, je will change, so ma will change as well, and then probably this pronoun will change as well. So let's have a look. Il dit qu'il, okay, we saw that. Présente sa proposition, we saw that as well. And then vous, okay, which is this pronoun, okay, pronom complément d'objet indirect, je présente à vous, okay. In that case, you will have to modify and to put that at the third person of the plural. Il leur présente sa proposition. Okay? Il dit qu'il leur présente sa proposition. Il dit je vais parler à mes parents et je vais les inviter. Alright, so here it's quite interesting as well because, well, if you have a look, je, of course it will change. Vais parler à mes, this thing normally should change as well. Je will be the same, it will change as well. And then it will be interesting to see whether this les will change. So what's your opinion? And let's have a look. So il will change. So je is becoming il. Mais is becoming c'est. Je is becoming il. But then here it doesn't really change because you are just referring to mes parents, and in that case it was already the plural form, les invités, so it doesn't need to change at all. Okay, so il dit qu'il va parler à ses parents et qu'il va les inviter. Les modifications de temps. Okay, so let's start now. So I wanted to first show you this simple example because if we get this sentence, elle te répond, je suis d'accord. Okay, so répondre is to answer, te, it's for you, so she answers to you. Je suis d'accord, okay, so in French this je suis d'accord is I do agree. Of course, in that situation, if we want to transpose this first structure at this discours indirect, it's quite simple because you just need to put back all your elements. So elle te répond, it doesn't change, okay? Que, that, remember, that's the key thing of this discours indirect. Que, that, but then in that case, needs to go away because we've got a vowel after. So qu'elle, so je will have to be transposed to elle, of course, because the subject here is elle. Et d'accord, of course the verb is changing as well, okay? But it's actually quite simple in that case because we've got, if you look carefully, in the first structure here it's the present form and here it's the present form. So, I mean, no big changes, and that's the main thing. So, in that case, you don't really need to worry. You put back all your elements, you just modify them if necessary, and that's it. You've got your discours indirect structure. Okay? If you've got the same thing, you know, with here, the future. Elle te répondra, je suis d'accord. So, here, it's the future. It's répondre to answer, but at the futur simple form. And in the second part here, it's the present form. And let's have a look. And you'll see that it's not really difficult because it doesn't change that much. Elle te répondra, so we put back these elements here. Qu'elle, okay, as we had previously, because it doesn't change here, it will be that, okay, que, but then you take the e away. Of course, you will have to modify this je and put it in here with elle, et d'accord. The verb, if you look carefully, will stay at the present form. Doesn't need to change here. Even if we've got the future here, it will stay at the present form in the second part here. Okay, so the thing is that for the present and the future, so if the verb that introduces this structure, this structure indirect, discours indirect, is at the present form or the future form, then the good news is that you won't have to modify anything after it. Okay, so that's the rule. That's the rule. If the verb that introduces this structure is at the present form or the future form, then you don't modify the verb after, which is a quite good news. But then, of course, it's French language, and we've got to think that if we've got, so it will be it's the common structure that we will have. So verb introducteur, and then after that we've got the phrase, the sentence. Okay, if you've got this first part here at the passé. Okay, so it's the past here. Passé means past, and when I write past, well, basically it could be imparfait, passé composé, passé simple, all the past tenses that we saw so far. Well, if this first verb is at the past, then the rest of the sentence, so, or the rest of the structure here, will have to be modified if you want to put that at the discours indirect. And that's what we'll see in this video. Okay, so the first example is if we've got this verb introducteur at the past form. Okay, and for all the examples I will put this first part at the passé composé. Okay, so it will be easier that way. Okay, so if we get the second part here at the présent, well, this part will have to change, and, well, the verb introducteur will stay the same, but it will, this présent form will be at the imparfait. Okay, so let's have a look how it will go. So, as I said, first verb, I did put that at the passé composé form, and it will be always the same for all the examples. So I will keep the same sentence, and I will keep the same verb, and it will be at the passé composé. Elle t'a répondu, je suis d'accord. So we've got exactly the same sentence as we had previously when we had the present present or then future present. In that case, so as we saw, we've got passé composé and then present form. And if you remember what I just told you previously, then the rule goes like that. This first part doesn't change. It is still at the passé composé form. But the second part here, so your present form will be changed, and you will have to put the verb, so it's the verb to be, it's être. You will have to put it at the imparfait form. That's the rule, okay? Don't need to think why, how, etc. No, just put it at the imparfait, okay? And you get the sentence, elle t'a répondu qu'elle était d'accord. Alright? So this is the way that you should follow if you want to make this discours indirect. And in the first part you've got, well, the past. In the second part you've got the present form. Okay? So let's see now, how do we do if we've got, well, still the same thing, so the passé, and we've got in the second part le passé composé. Well, of course, the first part will stay the same as we saw, but then this passé composé form will become plus que parfait. And let's have a look. Elle t'a répondu, j'ai été d'accord, okay? And so, j'ai été, this is the passé composé, j'ai été d'accord. So that's the thing that we'll have to change, and we'll have to modify it and put it at the, like here, elle avait été. We'll put that at the plus que parfait. So we get, elle t'a répondu qu'elle avait été d'accord. Alright, so remember, the first part doesn't change. Elle t'a répondu. Sorry, don't need to modify it. You don't need to change it. But then the second part, so, ait été here. Passé composé will become avait été here. So it's the plus que parfait. Okay? So let's see now another possibility. If we've got, so still the passé form in the first part, and then if we've got this futur simple form in the second part, then this futur simple will change and it will become futur du passé. So it's a strange thing because we tend to call that, you know, futur du passé, but well, technically it's conditionnel présent. All right, so that's the way you will have to maybe remember it. Oops, the accent was in the wrong direction. It should be like that, okay? But anyway, it's the conditionnel présent form that you will have to put here. So let's have a look now. Elle t'a répondu, je serai d'accord. Okay, so we do agree that, well, it's still the same here, passé composé. And in the second part here, je serai. So it's still the verb to be, but then remember, it's the futur form, okay, this futur simple. Je serai d'accord. And so it will become, elle t'a répondu qu'elle serait d'accord, okay? They look quite similar, but keep in mind that this form here is the conditionnel présent form, okay? Elle t'a répondu qu'elle serait d'accord. And so let's see now if we've got, so still in the first part, the past, because that will be the whole thing of this video, and we've got this futur antérieur in the second part. And this futur antérieur will become what we call, that it's still the same thing, quite interesting, futur antérieur du passé, but then technically it's the conditionnel passé. Okay? Elle t'a répondu, j'aurais été d'accord. Okay, so here, what do we have? First, as usual, we've got this passé composé. J'aurais été d'accord. Here we've got this futur antérieur form. And it will become, elle t'a répondu qu'elle aurait été d'accord. So still the same thing. Keep in mind that it looks a little bit like this form, but still it is quite different because it's what we call conditionnel passé. Okay? So now, if we've got the futur proche in the second part, this futur proche will become aller, and it should be at the imparfait form plus l'infinitif. And so, elle t'a répondu, je vais être d'accord. So keep in mind that when we talk about this futur proche, well, it's aller anyway, but in that case it's at the present form. Je vais, I am going to be, okay, je vais être, we want to make the liaison, je vais être, so I am going to be, and in that case, well, as I said, you know, it's the present form. If you want to transpose that at the discours indirect, so as we saw, this first part doesn't change, but this second part here, so elle allait être d'accord, that's the only thing that will change. So you will have to put your verb aller here, and it will be at the imparfait. Elle allait être d'accord. Elle t'a répondu qu'elle allait être d'accord. And last but not least, if you've got in your second part the passé récent, so this recent past, then it will be still the same structure, the same way to construct it. So normally this passé récent is constructed like that, venir de, but then it's at the present, and in that case it will be modified like we had previously for this near future, le futur proche. It should be at the imparfait form. Okay, so let's have a look. Elle t'a répondu, je viens d'être d'accord. Okay, so this is what we call le passé récent. So it's the verb venir, and here it's the present form. Okay, and you will have to modify it and to put it at the imparfait form here. Elle t'a répondu qu'elle venait d'être d'accord. Okay, so the only thing that you will have to modify, it's this verb here, venir. So when you get this passé récent, it's at the present form. It will be here at the imparfait form. Okay? Elle t'a répondu qu'elle venait d'être d'accord. So I know it may sound strange and difficult, but then keep in mind that, well, I did this thing. If you put it at the present and the future, so remember it doesn't change at all, okay? But then if you want to have this first verb at the past form, so that's when it will become tricky. So keep in mind that if you've got this structure, so first verb at the passé form, and then the second verb, it is at the present form, okay? So when you will modify this structure and you will put this discours indirect, so remember, présent, as we saw, will become imparfait, okay? Then if you've got passé composé, so in this, still in the second part of the structure, it will become plus que parfait, okay? If you've got the futur simple, so as the second structure, it will become what we saw, futur du passé. If you've got futur antérieur, so in the second part of this structure, it will become futur antérieur du passé. If you've got futur proche, it will become, well, like le futur proche, but then the only thing that you've got to modify is aller. You should put this verb at the imparfait, and then the rest of the structure. If you've got the passé récent, then the only thing, like we had for the futur proche, the only thing you will have to modify is the verb venir, and you should put that at the imparfait form. Then don't forget the preposition de and your infinitive after. Okay. Les verbes avec que, that will be followed by l'indicatif, just because normally at this level, after having introduced le subjonctif, many students tend to think that each time we've got a verb that will be constructed with que, it will be automatically followed by the subjunctive form, which is not the case, okay? So we'll see in this video what category of verbs will be constructed with que, and then they will be followed by l'indicatif, okay? And these verbs normally will express la certitude, and then l'opinion, or la déclaration, okay? So certitude, when you're certain or sure about something, l'opinion, when you express your opinion, your point of view, and then la déclaration, if you want to declare something. Okay, so we'll first start with la certitude, and so we'll see the verbs, not all the verbs of course, but then we'll have few examples, and then you will, after that, of course, when you encounter a new verb, try to see whether it's constructed with le subjonctif or then l'indicatif, and try to remember that. Okay, so the first verb or structure would be c'est évident que. C'est évident que. C'est certain que. C'est certain que. C'est sûr que. C'est sûr que. Être sûr que. Être sûr que. Être certain que. Être certain que. Okay, so you can see that I've been, for this form and the second form here, I've been putting this just to put this option of the feminine form. Okay, remember, it would be written like that if it's for the masculine, but then if it's for the feminine form, then you should add at the end this but then phonetically it doesn't change at all. It will be exactly the same sound or the same phonetical thing that you will produce. Okay, so in that case, certain, it's quite interesting because you get this A-I-N together, and then they will produce this sound. Okay, so it's nasal in your nose. Okay, if you add this at the end, then it will change the thing, and then you will pronounce it N. Okay, so the masculine form, certains, the feminine form, certaines. Alright, so let's see them one more time. C'est évident que, c'est certain que, c'est sûr que, être sûr que, so it was the masculine form and the feminine form is the same, être sûr que, okay, but in that case it will be different. Être certain que, this is the masculine form and the feminine form, être certaine que, okay? And then remember, all these expressions will be followed by l'indicatif, okay? So we'll see now l'opinion. So if you want to express your point of view or your opinion, then the first one would be penser que, trouver que, croire que, espérer que, avoir l'impression que. Alright, so let's see them one more time. Penser que, trouver que, croire que, espérer que, avoir l'impression que. Okay, and so remember that all these verbs will be followed by l'indicatif. Okay? And now the last part, la déclaration. So if you want to declare something, if you want to express something, then savoir que, dire que, répondre que, raconter que, écrire que. Okay, so one more time. Savoir que, dire que, répondre que, raconter que, écrire que, and all these verbs will be followed by l'indicatif.